thematic area that the macro thematic area that we will be presenting today is managerial and financial expertise. Three not so related topics that would be presented today. The first one by today, he's an expert about intellectual property. This is the topic that many people in CCI are struggling with. It was also confirmed from the questionnaires and interviews that we have made that this is the topic that they want to know more about. The second part will be presented by my colleague Mania about project management, and the third one is my turn. I'll talk about pricing strategies. So each workshop will last up to 1 hour. At the end of each, we'll have time for questions and answers. So yeah, be interactive, ask as much as possible, and I hope you'll enjoy it. So today, thank you for coming, and your turn.
Okay, thank you very much, Jan. To begin with, I would like to further understand what kind of organization, from what kind of organizations do you come from? So if it's possible for you guys, just a quick 1 minute pitch on where are you from and what do you do within your organization, so that I can keep my presentation as concrete as possible to you, so that you take the most of it.
Can I start?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, sure.
Hello, everyone. We are Enter Koprivnica Business Incubator. We are managing 2 business incubators here in Croatia. One is for the creative industries, and one is general for all other industries. We are working with startups, with SMEs, doing some creative programs for them, also developing and implementing programs financed by the EU programs. Also, we are cooperating with our university here nearby, which has creative also curriculums. We are established by the city of Koprivnica. We are a public institution, organization, and so we are also working with schools and developing programs for them. And that's about it. If you have questions.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Matea.
Yeah.
Can I just call out you guys, for instance, Mania?
Mania is from such incubator. So
okay.
I think
and
you know us enough. Roberto, could you say a few words?
Of course. Well, I'm representing Innogestiona Ambiental together with my colleague Marta, who is coming in a few minutes. We are a private service company specialized in environmental engineering and culture area, carrying out European, national, and regional R&D projects, public participation projects, and events organizations. We achieve our goals through a multidisciplinary team. And well, basically, this is our nature and our goals.
Okay, thanks.
Do we have anyone from Romania?
Helene.
Sorry, today. Do we have anyone from Romania Tech to say a few words about their company?
Yes, there is Elena Morsi and Sara Raggini.
Okay.
And, we already know Romania Tech, the reality of Romania Tech, and we provide innovative solution and for businesses, and we participate to this program with a laboratory which is Casa Bufalini, Francesco Petruzzi maybe has told you something about this. Casa Bufalini? Yes, no? No?
No. Today would just like to get
just
broader,
a general outline. That's it.
Okay, so Casa Bufalini is a program which is sponsored by the municipality of Cesena, and we provide innovative and technology solution to every citizen. And we have a creative laboratory for kids, but also for common people who want to know something more about technology and want to improve their capability of using them. So this is the main purpose of the project.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. And perhaps just a short introduction.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay. Joanna, would you say a few words?
Yes, so Argo is a company, a consultancy company, and we manage European projects. And in the SCASMES, we give support, technical support as well. So we manage the European projects, implementation, writing of projects, etc.
I see. Okay, thank you very much, everybody, for your introductions. The reason why I asked you this was because what I normally deal with are the companies that are within private sectors. However, I do cooperate with various technology parks incubators, not only here in Slovenia, but across the EU. And I constantly get this question: does it make sense, or is this not just a waste of money? And this is my assumption, and which has been validated throughout a number of times, is that if you look at the intellectual property as a cost, then this probably will remain a cost for the company which invests in IP. So the basic idea behind the intellectual property is that it should be seen as an investment in your future undertakings with another business partners or your clients. So in this sense, I would like to kick off this presentation by stating this is actually the reason why I decided to label this presentation intellectual property cost or investment. Throughout this presentation, I will try to be as concrete as possible and to just encircle what can be seen as intellectual property within each and every business out there, whether it's privately held or it's publicly held. Okay, and during this presentation, if you have any kind of questions, please interrupt me and I'll try to explain it in more detail. So there has been numerous studies conducted throughout the European Union on how IP reflects in the normal business. And what the recent study has shown is that the IPR intensive industries create almost a third of all of the jobs within the EU. And the fact that only 9% of SME own IPRs, but those that do have 68% of higher revenue per employee that those that they do not. So this would mean that basically, if you want to have a company that produces substantially higher income than not, then you should consider registering or managing your intellectual property. And this goes not only for businesses out there, but also for technology parks and incubators. because a lot of this kind of knowledge is created within the business parks and within the incubators, then can be protected and should be protected, of course, obviously, if you consider purchasing higher revenue within the company. Okay, just to keep it short, what I do basically on the market is I help investors deal with their intellectual property, or moreover, I help investors to evaluate whether the startup that they're investing in has this IP in place and well protected. The second thing is I help companies do brand protection, and another service that I offer is that I provide freedom to operate searches for bigger companies who are already well established in the market and are trying to go into a new market. So with that, I help them realize, okay, we have a new product which is produced by a number of components, and each of that component should be checked whether or not it's infringing on someone else's intellectual property. Okay, so just a short overview. So we'll look at IP for creative industry, procedures and fees surrounding it, and at the end I'll go through trends and tools that you can use as a company or as a startup, as a help towards startups, so that they can check for whether they are infringing on someone else's IP or not. Okay. So if we start at the basics, what do you think are what is intellectual property in general? Do you have any thoughts? No thoughts. Okay. I'll go through them. So the capital of a company is in principle. In principle, we could say that the capital of a company are tangibles and non-tangibles. So tangibles are the things that we can grasp, we can see, we can hold, which means, so these are, I don't know, real estates, movables,
I think we lost today. Okay.
Yes.
Sorry?
Yeah, we lost you a bit, sorry.
Do you hear me?
Yeah, no, it's okay, yeah.
Okay, well, for this is all I could do in such short notice. If you lose me again, please tell me and I'll wait a bit. So, okay. Where did you lose me?
Here, you just say this slide again. That's okay. Yeah.
Okay. So the second and the most the hugest part of each of the company are basically its intangibles, which encircle know-how, human resources, client relationships, and so on. So these are the parts of each company which cannot be seen, held, touched, or whatever, but they can be encircled through a part of the field which is called intellectual property. So in the next slide, basically we can divide this intellectual property apart on three major fields. First being industrial property. Within the industrial property, we have trademarks, we have designs, we have patents, we have geographical indications, and so on. And this is the second biggest part of the IP in general are copyrights. You probably already heard of copyrights before. They encircle basically all the literature out there, all the musics, movies, and so on. And then we have another quite big part of intellectual property, which is beginning to be a most important one. It's called soft IP. Within the soft IP, we consider all the intellectual property assets that cannot be encircled through copyrights or through industrial property rights. We'll get into this a bit later, but in general, for now, are there any questions surrounding it, surrounding these three major fields? No questions. Okay, so everything's clear now. Okay, so the main difference between the copyrights and industrial property rights is that in order to have copyright, you don't need to register it. So according to national legislation, which is more or less harmonized throughout Europe, so this means that the principles behind it is pretty much the same in Croatia or Romania or France, for that matter, or in Slovenia. Is that once you create something in terms of copyrights, copyrighted material, the national legislation automatically gives you ownership of this. Whilst in terms of industrial property, you need to register. You need to register this right in order to present it as yours. Okay, so if we'll go through each of individual fields, starting with industrial property, and just before we go into fees and procedures and so on, here's a quick slide of basic legal framework which enables this industrial property rights to be pretty much harmonized, not just within EU, but also throughout the world. There are so within EU there are specific patent law, trademark law, design law, which is managed through national legislation, and national legislators are the ones who provide detailed information on how patents, trademarks, and designs can be obtained through registration. And of course, national legislation is also present with copyrights. And then on the right side of the slide, you see an international agreements. These are the agreements that basically enables an owner to get the same rights when he or she registers rights within any of the treaty signees. So if you see, as you can see here, there are a couple of international agreements that are in place, and they're continually updated with the new signees. For instance, for patents, you have 151 signees, which means that you can basically expect the same level of protection within all of those 150 companies, within 151 countries around the world. And the same goes for Madrid Agreement, which covers trademarks. Paris Convention covers the industrial property within the and all of these treaties are being held within WIPO. This is a World Intellectual Property Office, which is stationed in Switzerland, in Geneva, and they manage all of these treaties. Any questions related to that? No? Okay. So, okay, if we go to patent is an exclusive right of an individual or legal entity to exclude third parties from using, producing, and manufacturing an invention. In order for you to obtain a patent, this invention that you have needs to be first off registered. And in order to get it registered, you have to prove to respective authority that it's new, meaning that it should be new worldwide, that it involves inventive step, which means that if you show this invention to an expert in the field, he or she must not immediately know how you came to it. So this is the inventive step. And the third condition that needs to be met is that it can be produced, can be manufactured, and so on. What's important to realize here with patents is that patents have a specific timeline. None of the patents are valid for more than 20 years. In some cases, there could be extended to up to 25 years, but this is a very specific area. It has to do with pharmacy. But in general, if someone tells you that they have a patent for more than 80 years or something like that, you should be very careful with that. In general, most of the patents expire within 10 years. In order for you to obtain and keep the patent alive, you have to pay annual fees to a national authority where the patent is registered. And once you stop with paying, patent lapses. And this is another important issue that you have to take care of, especially if you are within the industries such as, I don't know, for instance, Bosch, Siemens, or something like that. All of the hardware is basically very patentable. But in general, patent, all you have to understand here is that the patent is industrial property right that enables its owners to prevent third parties from producing the same invention. So here are the few examples of patent. This is an example of Slovenian patent and also the European patent, which is a wider patent, but I'll get into it in a bit later stage. If you want, in general, there are three main procedures how you obtain a patent. We'll get into it. Next slide, of course. As I said, there are three ways of applying a patent. One is through a national application, meaning that you go and file in each and separate national stage and file a patent. The second one, which you probably have already heard it, is PCT procedure. It's not PCT with COVID. It's not anything new. This PCT procedure has been around for, I think, more than 100 years now, ever since the WIPO and Patent Cooperation Treaty has been signed. What changes regularly is the number of attendees or number of countries where you can file patent with a single application, and this is an international application, PCT. I won't go into much details now. What you need to know is that in order for you to have a PCT application, you need to first file a national application somewhere. You cannot directly file for PCT procedure without having a national or regional application, which is the third way of applying a patent. If your invention relates to a wider area of EU, for instance, you have the option to file directly a European Union patent. where you can basically, after you get this patent obtained, you need to validate it in specific countries. So this is important to know, that once you file for patent, the procedure of obtaining patent lasts from 3 to 4 years in general. So up until then, you have a patent application, and you don't have patent yet. A patent is later on registered or not. Depends of it actually depends if you manage to overcome these 3 criteria that I mentioned. So it has to be new, has to have inventive step, and has to have industrial applicability met. Okay, any questions with patents? Here are some general outline of how much does it cost to obtain a patent. These are obviously just prices for filing a patent, not necessarily getting one, because normally you have to involve attorney fee, and it really much depends on how attorneys are dealing with your patents. So what's important for you to know is that when someone from your, for instance, if you are incubator or technology transfer office or whatever, it's important for you to have some sort of contacts with your national patent attorneys, to whom you can relate to when for instance, one of your incubees or something like that would like to have some sort of information, further information on how much does it cost. So this is important to realize. What I said before is it's very important that they realize that they have to maintain a patent after it's granted. As I said, you have to pay national fees to each and every country where your patent is valid, and unless you decide to drop the patent altogether, this type of fees can amount up to 30 to 50,000 euros in a lifetime of one patent. So if you have several patents in place, you get the idea of how costly these procedures can be. Okay, if there are no questions related to patents, I would move to the second industrial right, which is trademarks. The trademark is basically another protection right, which covers basically the way of how you present your product. Is basically protection for labels that you put on your products or services, and the idea is to distinguish the same goods and services from others. What's important here to know is that there are absolute and relative grounds that needs to be overcome in the procedure where you're obtaining the trademarks. Absolute grounds are basically says that in order for you to get the protection of a trademark, this trademark shouldn't be descriptive. It should be unique. So in principle, this means you cannot protect trademark Apple for apples, but you can protect trademark Apple for computers. So you see the distinction here. What's also good to know is that the term of protection for trademarks is 10 years from filing date. and after 10 years you can renew the protection. So in principle, if you pay for these fees every 10 years, you get an unlimited protection in time. Okay, also here there are, so these are the couple of most valuable trademarks out there. Apple, you know, probably Coca-Cola as well, Microsoft as well. What's important to note here is that Microsoft does not own only one trademark. It can be Microsoft and Coca-Cola owns. I think the last I've seen it, more than 300 trademarks around the world. So there are different ways of spreading the initial application. So here we go. It's similar as in patents. There is possibility of national filing, which you can do country by country. There is also the international application, which is done also based on the national or regional national or regional application, and it can be basically this protection can be extended to more than 140 countries around the world with a single application, and this is what international application under Madrid Protocol, the second part offers. And of course, there's a regional application. You probably heard of EU IPO on the European level. So what you get actually is protection of your trademark within 27 member states. Since, for instance, Great Britain has left the EU, this protection does not apply to Great Britain. Okay, any questions related to trademarks? No, I guess I'm either I am very thorough in my explanations, or you're still a bit shy of asking. So either way, these are the couple of prices for trademarks. In EU, you can get trademark registrations from 850 euros and up. Why up? Because one important part of trademark registration is number of NICE classes that you protect your trademarks in. When you file for trademark protection, you don't get a protection for everything, but you get a protection for a limited part of goods and or services that you offer. NICE classes, one being software, second one being, I think it's web designs and so on, and the third one is I think it was number 35, which means marketing and so on. So you never basically, once you file for a trademark application, you normally decide on how many classes will you include your protection, and these classes are then calculated in fees. Okay, so the important thing to realize is that once you get your trademark registered, you need to monitor it. This means that you go, these are the services that trademark attorneys also provide on the market, which means actually that you do every 3 months, you check your, I don't know, Google, you check these databases that we'll see later on. Just let me check with Jan how we are on the time.
Yeah, basically halfway there, so 25 minutes still left.
Okay, great. Okay, I'll manage to do it. Okay, any questions related to trademarks?
We lost you a bit when you talk about the areas that can be applied for with trademarks. Can you just repeat them quickly? You said marketing, software.
Okay. Yeah, actually, when Apple registered their trademark, for instance, they registered it just for three areas, which were software, development of new software. This was the second one, and the third one was basically online presence and so on. So these are three different NITSE classes which were used for initial application. Later on, of course, you can add up with not within the single application, but there has to be a new application done. Okay. Yeah. So industrial design is third and most the third biggest IPR right, which actually covers the appearance. So you can protect an appearance of industrial business product, which is designed by specific parameters such as lines, colors, form, and so on. So if you, for instance, if you visualize to yourself Coca-Cola bottle, this is the example of a registered design. So visual appearance of the bottle is protected by European Union, I think a couple of other countries in the world as well. Here with the design, it's important to note that the timeline is also different. When you register design, you register it for 5 years, and you can extend it this 5-year period to 25 years maximum. One other thing is that the design will not be registered if it's solely defined by its technical function. The most easiest way to describe this is, for instance, if you imagine having your, not sure, for instance, screwdriver. If you have various types of screwdriver, one is this, help me on, how do you call it, križni?
Not my expertise, but yeah, different type of screwdrivers.
Well, actually, yeah. So the function of the screwdriver is basically to screw bolts, and this cannot be protected as a design because its sole purpose of screwdriver is to screw things in or out. So this is just a interesting fact here. Okay. Also with designs, we have 3 types of registering procedure. One is the national way, the second one is international application. The important difference here is that you can immediately file for international application. You don't need any prior application existed, and of course the regional application is the same with EU IPO. This is regional body of the EU where you can register designs or trademarks. Okay, any questions with designs? Designs are very much important way of how you can protect your products in the creative industry. So if you work with any creative industry partners or something like that, designs are something that are very much the cheapest way of protection. It's not as expensive as, for instance, patent. You can see the fees here. So basically, in EU, you can get protection for 350 euros, which is not a big deal. The most cheapest way of protecting. However, there is a catch here. You have to be really careful what kind of design you are applying to. For instance, if you apply for, I don't know, a shape which is in one color, immediately, if you have on a market the same shape with a different color, it makes an overall appearance very much different, and EU IPO will consider this as a different model. So the small hack here is to apply for a colorless shape without any colors, and with that you can get protection for a much wider scope of services, goods. Okay.
Today, one question.
Also here, it's very important to, yeah.
Sorry, how do you specify design when you'd like to register it? I mean, with pictures, models.
There is a Locarno classification out there. It's a classification that helps to put your designs in a specific area. Normally, if you decide to protect this, your trademark or design attorney does this for you. But in general, if you go and Google Locarno classification, you get a free tool which helps you to find the proper classification for you. So we'll browse through later on through that as well. I'll mention it. Okay. So, okay, now we covered the first part of the IP, which is also the major one, and the second major one, and very much important for a creative industry, is copyrights and related rights. Copyrights are basically individual intellectual creations in the field of literature, science, and artistic works, which are expressed in any kind of way. The duration here is until author's death plus 70 years. So this type of IP right, as I said before, does not need any registering in order to obtain it. So once you write something which has individual nature and it's product of intellectual mind, you get automatic protection for it. There are, of course, some different protection duration for specific copyright materials, such as databases. These are included in National Copyrights Act. I take it that it's pretty much the same in other countries, as, for instance, in Romania and in Italy as well. But of course, this is something that you need to check with your attorney, with your IP attorney, if you have one. If you don't, then I suggest that you get some sort of attorney that specializes in okay. One more important information with copyrights is that there are two types of copyrights. One is one covers the non-material rights, also referred to as moral rights, which cannot be separated from its author. And the second one is material rights. These can be either sold, either licensed to anyone else under the specific terms agreement. And one more thing that's also very much important is, for instance, when you outsource a creation of your logo, or for instance, like that, something like that. The general notion is that if I buy something, so if I pay to the developer to design my logo, the material rights are automatically mine. But this is not the case. You need to have this in separate contract, that you can use this copyright, which is initially on the designer, that you transfer it to yourself. So mind that when you design new logos or design new stuff or something like that, or someone else designs this for you, you need to create an additional contract where it's specified that you hold all the material rights of this copyright. So this is something that's very much important to have in mind. Okay. So there's also soft forms of intellectual property. Just to keep this short, I won't go into much details. Among soft IP can be trade secrets. Trade secrets are very much important nowadays because we see that there are a lot of trade secrets misappropriation cases out there. In generally, trade secret means in order for something to be a trade secret, there needs to be 3 criteria met. One is it has to be known to a very limited number of people. It has to have some sort of commercial value if kept a secret. And the third one, its owner must take appropriate technical or other kind of measures to keep it a secret. So if you can show to a court, for instance, if those 3 criteria have been met, there is a possibility of having these trade secrets enforced on trade secrets infringement enforced on the court. And this criteria is well known within the EU and outside of the EU as well. Okay, there are secrecy of crucial data. So if there are some sort of a data gathering, obviously here you have to realize also that there is a GDPR restrictions imposed. But in generally, secrecy of crucial data is also a form of soft IP that very few companies realize and keep data records on. Okay, domains is another important topic which we don't have time to go into. This is a separate workshop can be done on this. Special knowledge, know-how is normally a part of patents. So patent by itself is not special knowledge. However, there is a special knowledge involved when patents are applied. Key employees, very important. If one does not have some sort of clauses in their employment contract that enables its employer to have some sort of management over this, it can be quite a challenge for someone to recover their IP. Also, supplier lists, customer lists, databases, blueprints, established production, and so on. There are quite a few soft IP topics that we could go into. Okay, I'll skip this and go to so that we can keep this as short as possible. These are the databases that can be used for checking the patents. So the first one is SPASNet. This is basically the biggest free available database where you have more than 120 million patenting literature all around the world. So my suggestion is that if you are developing something new, this is the first thing that you need to go into. Thank you, Jan. And search for your technology. If you don't find anything here, then you're on a very good way of having your new patent. Okay, the second database that that covers patents in US is USPTO's database. These are the also in general you will find all the patents published by USPTO in SPASNet as well. The third database, free of charge, also all of these databases that I'm sharing here are free to use, is PatentScope. This PatentScope is a database of World Intellectual Property Office. It's a very nice tool for visualization of trends, insights of industry leaders, and so on. So this PatentScope is mainly used by research organizations, technology transfer offices, and so on. And again, all of the patents that are here in published here in PatentScope, you can see them in SPASNet as well. And there's one other regional database. It's the Eurasian Patent Organization. There's also, this is also a regional office that covers patents from Russia, basically from Eastern Europe, from Asia, and so on. It's very much useful for those who are doing their business in Russia or Asia. Okay, so these are the patents, patent databases. And if we go to trademarks, the most important and the most widely used is a TMView database for trademarks. You can find here practically any trademark that has been registered or applied for. I think they have more than 60 million records now, containing also all trademarks from US, from China, from practically all over the world. There's also one database which is called World Global Brand Database. It has been changed. This slide is a bit obsolete, but still previous to that there was a WIPO Madrid international trademark system, which is still actually in place. But in general, if you go to global brand database, you'll find all of the marks there as well. There's also one regional website. It's called eSearch Plus. This is a database of European Union IPO office. Thank you, Jan. And of course, for searching for US trademarks, there's a TESS trademark electronic search system. It's a bit obsolete still, but quite useful if you are looking into registering US trademark.
Okay, I think we lost it again. Okay, basically to summarize, the most important thing is that you check these databases if the thing that you would like to register already exists.
Search tool for internet.
Today, sorry, we lost you for past 30 seconds. Oh, and now we lost him completely. Okay, so like I said, the most important thing.
Yeah, I see that I was.
Yeah, we lost you.
I was. Yeah. Okay. Now you can hear me well.
Yeah,
as well?
yeah. We can
so
hear.
Where did you lose me?
You were talking about the free databases of trademarks.
Okay.
WIPO, and after that we lost you.
Oh, you lost me. Okay. So just let me share the screen again. Okay, go back. So the okay, so these are the you probably heard of TESS or not yet?
Sorry, about what?
TESS. TESS is the trademark search database for US trademarks.
Yeah, you said about it, and then we lost you. Yeah.
Okay, so let's go. I must apologize for my computer; it's a bit slow, and also a connection, but hopefully we'll manage. I think. I see we have 4 minutes left. Just a moment. You see the presentation now, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me just go to. So for searching designs, there are two databases. One is Design View, and the second one is WIPO-HAG. The Design View is basically a tool that I use as well for searching designs across the Europe and wider. And the WIPO is a very specific tool to search, which covers all the international applications of the specific designs. Okay.
Yeah, you have all these links in the handout.
Yeah. I'll provide them to you for
No. The handout that people already got. You write down all these important links.
Okay,
so,
I did right.
Yeah.
Okay. That's even better. Okay. Just a couple of words with trends in intellectual property. The main trend is that for the last 7 years or so, EU has been trying to push through the unitary patent, which is actually the simplification of a patenting procedure after you get the patent granted. Now, currently, after you get a European Union patent granted, you have to separately validate this patent in each of the European Union country. After unitary patent is established, this will take effect automatically with all the member states. This actually means that this creates a limitation of freedom to operate. Which means that currently now the countries that are smaller don't need to well, actually the businesses within the smaller country don't need to take care of their freedom to operate. Whilst after unitary patent is active, I take it there will be an increase of lawsuits within the smaller companies. Because right now, as I said before, the major markets where patents are validated are 5, basically France, Great Britain, Spain, and Italy. So this is something that someone needs to consider. And another thing, harmonization of intellectual property has been going on globally for 20 to 30 years. And this is something which is useful on one part and can be possibly troublesome in the future. So this is everything from my part. Now I'm still available for any questions if someone has it. So that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you today. I would like to ask you something for the summary. If some creatives come to us as trainers, as advisors, what will you say them? I don't know. He comes to us and says, I'm designing some stuff and I'm afraid that others will use it without my permission. what should be the next steps, simplified. What shall he
Well,
do?
This is a perfectly legitimate threat that can occur and will probably occur if you have a very attractive design. My advice would be to speak with a seasoned IP attorney, at least to invest a couple of hundred euros to potentially protect this design. If he or she sees this design as something that could be potentially valuable for the next 2 or 3 years, then yes. If designs are something that are changed regularly in a specific industry, then this wouldn't be a good approach because it can cost a lot of money. So in this sense, I would say to speak with someone who is seasoned in this kind of way. Yeah, that's it.
Okay, thanks. Does anyone else? Okay, Roberto.
Yes, please. My concern has to do with, for example, musicians, visual artists, and theater. I still remember from the interviews for the local assessment, some of the interviewers were mentioning their concern about possible plagiarism. So I would like speaker could orientate a bit how he thinks this type of artist should act to prevent or to react once they detect plagiarism.
Yeah, well, this is one of the aspects that we haven't covered within this presentation. Yeah, it is a very big problem, and currently IP system in terms of copyrights is basically obsolete and cannot manage to provide this protection mechanisms for musicians and artists dealing with IPR management system. What I know is that by through these NFTs, you've probably heard these non-fungible tokens. This is something that can be a solution to this problem. But it's still in a rather developing phase. What I've seen is that through this digitalization of this type of IP, this could be solution to the problem. So. My suggestion to artists would be that they should look into this NFTs because here you have a digital footprint with whom you can, to a certain degree, manage your IP. But yes, I understand the problem. It's happening all around Europe. It's not just a Italy problem. It's basically an entire EU and much further problem. Yeah. I hope I answered your question. I personally would look into these NFTs, which are becoming very much popular. Although I'm not sure. I haven't tried it yet. But as I did talk with a couple of colleagues around Europe. They also see a light at the end of the tunnel.
Thank you very much. It was very helpful, though. But I see thinking on the handbook and thinking. Expecting that the CCI agents should be familiarized with this text and this content, this type of clues should be included. This is my personal suggestion, but your orientation is very helpful. I appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Yeah, it will be included definitely, because the feedback was that people from CCIs like to know more about this topic, and most of them have zero experience with how to apply for a patent design or something else to be registered. So,
okay. Thank you.
Any other question? Okay, if not, today I'd like to thank you for explaining us this topic that we are not an expert of, and you are, so thank you. We'll be in touch, but now the second part is in front of us. Manja will take the stage. Do you need a quick break, or? Yeah, okay, then we'll start at 10:15. Okay. Okay, see ya. Bye today.
Thank you very much. See you. Bye.
Thank you.
Okay, people, are we ready? The first part was more about legal issues that CCI people could have. Now we'll talk more about the management skills they need. So Manya, stage is yours.
Thank you. So now we are starting with the project management workshop, and I would kindly ask you to turn your cameras on because we will interact with each other in the second part, and that would be very much appreciated. So my name is Manya Kopusar, and I'm a marketing specialist here in SASA Incubator. But before, I was working in creative industry of advertising as a project manager assistant. And I was also president of the Association of Female Students of Business Studies. So I have some formal experience on managing teams and projects. As you probably know, project manager can be an official job title, but most importantly, it's a skill. The principles of project management can be adopted both in personal and professional life, including in culture and creative industries. This workshop will be split in two parts. First, I'm going to introduce you with the basics of project management theory, and later we are going to have a practical part where you will start working on your own project. Of course, both in the theoretical and practical part, you can always ask questions in the chat. Also, in the end, when you will present your individual work from practical part, we will have some time for further discussions. Now, I would like you to think of one of your recent projects. It could be either professional or personal, and it can already be finished or still in process. For example, one of my projects was my sister's birthday party. Jan, would you please share with us what was your recent project?
Okay, just mute yourself. Okay. Our biggest project we have in the past month was the startup generator, where we have 12 startup teams that went through a 3-month program building on their ideas to be market ready. And for the final event, first time in a year, we have around 50 people here listening to their pitching, and the best 3 teams get some financial subsidies. So yeah, this was a project we have been working for, I don't know, a few weeks at least. So plenty of things needed to be done from technical support to the moderating activities to live streaming, because still we have to do events now in hybrid waves. So some people are here live, some are only viewing us through streams. So yeah, that would be the biggest project I could now think of that we have been working on in the past months.
Okay, thanks, Jan, for a very extensive description of what your recent project was. Roberto, would you please share with us what your recent project was? It can be very short, just like to give us a general idea.
All right, could it be in the personal side as well?
Of course, yes.
Yes, well, I am still in the process to finish my moving to a new house.
Oh, okay.
So it was as far as I remember, maybe you think it's going to be unbelievable, but it's the 30th time I moved from one to the other house in my life. So I have quite a lot of experience, but I felt understood the need for planning. So I did, more or less, and still have to improve, but all right, I applied my project management skills on this task.
Yeah, planning is definitely very important in every project. We'll hear about that later. Marta, would you please tell me about your project?
Yes, well, a project I've been involved during the last year is about technology transfer from university to museums. Is a technology you use on your iPhone to obtain information about the pieces you contemplate in a museum. And I've been doing project management things in that.
Thanks. So you probably already know a lot about it.
No, it's more
No?
practical. I don't have theoretical background. It's more the practical every day.
I see. Okay. Maybe Mateja would like to share her project as well.
Okay. My recent project is planning my wedding in the COVID-19 world. So it is very challenging and different. So yes.
Thanks very much.
That would be interesting.
Good luck with your wedding plans.
Head off.
Okay, thanks everyone for sharing. I see you are able to recognize projects in your lives. But I would like now if you can explain what a project is. How would you describe it? So what are those characteristics or what could be definition? Maybe we can start with Helene, if she's here. No? Then maybe Marta, would you help me?
Oh, wow. I see project like an individual thematic thing, but I don't know how to say.
Very good. Yes.
I don't know. It has an entity. Is a coherence.
Sure. For sure. Roberto, do you have any idea? Would you like to add something?
Well, I perceive a project as an entity with a large or small scope, including objective, strategy, an action plan, and a monitoring step as well.
Very good. Yes, that's true. Okay. Everything you said is true. So a project is a set of interdependent tasks that have a common goal. Here I added a picture of jigsaw puzzle because, as you can see, there is many different pieces representing individual tasks, but together they form the final picture, so they have a common goal. Of course, they are interdependent since they fit together in a specific way, and only together they reach the final goal. Each project has 4 characteristics you can now see on the slide. Some of them have already been mentioned by you before. First, we have a clear start and end date. This means a project needs to have a clear beginning, a definite end, and an overview of what happens in between. There are some projects that last several years, but a project cannot go on forever. Another characteristic is that a project creates something new. Every project is unique, producing something that did not previously exist. A project is a one-time, once-off activity and is never repeated exactly the same way again. You have probably already done a project with the same name multiple times. For example, here in SASA Incubator, we organize Future 4.0 Business Conference every autumn, but it is never exactly the same. We have different speakers every year, different guests, we cover different topics, and so on. So the outcome is different. A project also has boundaries. This means it operates within certain constraints of time, money, quality, and functionality. Project team includes the project manager and a group of individuals who work together on a project to achieve its objectives. Project team members are mainly the people who work on various phases of the project, are otherwise working in different teams, and have precise knowledge or required skill set to carry out the work of the project. They could be in-house staff or externals. Project manager play the lead role in planning, executing, monitoring, controlling, and closing projects. They are accountable for the entire project scope, for the project team, resources, and the success or failure of the project. Project lifecycle consists of 5 phases. initiation, sometimes also called ideation, planning, execution, control, and closure. Success of each phase depends on the previous phase or phases, so it is important to take time in first steps to set a solid base instead of rushing through phases. Let's take a closer look in the phases and see what a project manager does in each one. Initiation is the beginning phase of every project where a project manager is selected. The manager would meet with the project sponsor and key stakeholders to determine the business or technical objectives of the project, dive into relevant information, and identify who is needed on a project team. During this stage, project manager would prepare a project charter. They would identify stakeholders and make a stakeholder register with contact information, and they would assemble the team and assign roles and responsibilities. Planning plays an essential role in helping to guide stakeholders, sponsors, teams, and the project manager through other project phases. It is needed to reduce risks and ensure a smooth execution and delivery of well-made product or high-quality services. In this phase, project manager break down the project to tasks, set deadlines, and allocate resources, and develops a project plan and a timeline. It is important to take time for planning, as we already mentioned before. Otherwise, the project will either lack quality or the process will be more expensive. Execution is usually the longest phase of the project management lifecycle. In this phase, the team gets to work. A project manager is responsible for ensuring all parts of the machine continuously run smoothly. Parallel to execution runs the control phase. With the help of a timeline, a project manager monitors the team's milestones and accomplishments and apply adaptations when necessary. Closure phase begins when the project is completed. A project manager makes sure all the activities are completed and reflect on and record how the project went. They may organize a final meeting and write a report. I already told you before that planning phase is very important and can take a long time. The project needs to be broken down and it needs to be decided on what to do and how to do it. We actually can put projects in 4 different categories based on how clear it is. If we know what to do and how to do it, the project planning will take much less time since we can stick with the well-familiar procedures, methods, and systems. But if what's and how's are less clear, we will need more time in order to define them. Project charter is a formal, typically short document that describes your entire project. It includes name of the project, time frame, scope or objective of the project, and team members. Online, you can find many different templates you can use for your project, or you can make your own template. If you have many projects, having templates ready will help you dive straight into a new project. In the planning phase, where a project manager breaks down project to different activities, different documents can be useful, such as project plan and timeline. Gantt chart is a chart that combines the timeline with activities performed. It visually represents a project schedule and shows the dependency relationships between activities and the current schedule stages. This chart lists the tasks to be performed on the vertical axis and time intervals on the horizontal axis. It is not only useful to plan the project, but also to monitor it, since it enables a project manager to follow the project and progress. To support the process and make it run well, project managers and their teams can use different tools and methodologies. There is no wrong and right ones, but some are more appropriate for certain projects and some fit better with a specific team. Again, online we can find many useful project management collaboration tools and systems. Some of them are free and some of them charge subscriptions. I suggest you check it out later in your free time. They even help you with different visualizations and can, for example, turn your project from list to a Gantt chart. If we will have some time left at the end, I can show you. However, it is important to say no methodology is perfect. So project managers usually use a combination of different ones depending on their needs. Now, important thing, if the project managers are inexperienced, it is better not to bother them with different methodologies. As long as they have their own system and know what they're doing and it works for them, it is okay. They do not need to know all different kinds of tools that are available. Now let's get down to business. You will work on your own example of a project. We will focus on first two phases of a project, initiation and planning. In the first task, we are going to create a basic project charter. Please select a project and define it. Just take a piece of paper and write it down, or you can make notes in your computer or smartphone. But please have it written down because you will present it later. Now you have 5 minutes to do it.
It's a new invented project, nothing to do with what we said before.
No, it can be new,
Like...
but you can also use an old one if that's easier for you.
Okay.
Here's a little example that might help you. So we need name of the project, time frame, objective, purpose, and team members. Okay, you have 1 more minute to finish what you started.
Okay.
Are you done?
Yes.
Great. Okay, let's continue with the second task. Now we're going to create a project plan. First, please break down your project in 5 activities. Then assign the activities to your team members and set a due date for each one. Again, you have 5 minutes, and please work with the project you already started in previous task. Again, here is an example that maybe can help you, but you need to do 5 activities, not just 1. Okay, again, you have 1 more minute left to finish up. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. Now we're going to take this online. We will work with Asana, a software for team collaboration. The trial period is free. You just need to create an account with your email. Some of you might already be familiar with it. If you have already used your free trial period, please try another mail or work with your coworker. Once you're signed in, the website will guide you through next steps. You will need to enter the name of your project and tasks. So the same thing we did now with the piece of paper, we're now gonna do inside of this software tool. When it asks you for team members, you can add my email. I put it here on the slide, and then complete the list with tasks and due dates. So everything you have now ready on a piece of paper or maybe in your Word document, just please insert it in Asana. You have 10 minutes to do this. If you have any problems with creating your account, please let me know. Okay, I already got first invitation, so I'm assuming it goes well. You have like 6 more minutes, so take your time. Is it going well? If anyone is using maybe a smartphone, you need to download an app first, but I suggest you to just use a computer version for this task.
Sorry, I have difficulties. I'm creating tasks, activities.
Yes.
And in my case, there is a limited number, up to 3. So I have identified 5, for example.
Okay. That's okay.
Yes.
As long as you saw how the tool is working, that's perfectly okay.
Okay.
Okay, I will wait for 3 more minutes. If anyone else wants to add me to their team, I got a couple of invitations. Mate and Marta, I saw your invitations, but I don't see the task. Have you already entered them or not yet?
I entered them, yeah.
Okay, maybe they're
I'm
just
not familiar with this platform, so I don't know how can I make you.
Yeah, this is an opportunity to learn, so no worries. If you have any questions, you can ask me. I can help you.
I entered them as well, so I. I can't find a part where we can add a project team member and their tasks.
Okay, do you have a tab where it says add tasks? It's a plus sign and then it says add tasks.
Yes, I do.
Okay, you can add task in there. So just click this tab and you will have like a bracket to type it in.
Okay. And
but you can assign me under add a team member, I think it says. You will see it in
okay.
Type it in. For those of you that have already finished this, you have an option to change overview of your project plan. Like on the top, you have a bar where it says overview, and you can try to click on different options to see different overviews. You can choose between like list, board, timeline, calendar, and you just need to fill in the list and everything else works automatically. Okay, let's move on now. Let me hear about your project. You don't need to tell me about Asana, because I know that some of you might not be that familiar with tools like this, but please tell me about your project charter. So what are the basic things about your project and about first 5 tasks? Who would like to start?
I can start.
Okay, thanks.
Well, I took notes a bit. I don't know if I will answer to everything that you asked.
Okay.
If not, well, my new project is preparing new applications for new projects. So the title of the project would be New Project Applications.
Good.
The timeline will be over the summer.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it already started in June, July, August, and September.
Okay.
Then, well, the why is, or the purpose is to get new projects for next year.
Mm-hmm.
The people involved in this project will be the whole project department.
Okay.
And well, that would be the stakeholders as well. I don't know if there, I'm not seeing other external stakeholders. I don't know if I'm seeing the full picture.
Yeah, you can tell us about stakeholders if you have them, but if you don't have them, that's fine.
Okay.
Stakeholders and budget are here optional, because I know that you are not working on like actual cases right now.
The task I see for this project are brainstorm new ideas for new projects. That's the first task.
Okay.
Start drafting ideas. That's the second one. I can tell the deadline as I tell them, so I go back. The first task, brainstorm ideas for new project, is already ongoing.
Yes.
And we'll work on that until the end of this week.
Good.
Second task, start drafting ideas. Will finish by the second week of July.
Okay.
The third task, read course background information. Will go on until the second week of July as well.
Okay.
The fourth, start filling forms. This activity will be longer, and we'll be working on that until the end of August. And then the fifth is a review the applications with partners, and that will be conducted over the month of September.
Okay.
In most activities, we are about 5 people. We'll be all involved. In some activities, there will be 2 or 3 of us.
Okay. You have an opportunity to assign specific tasks to your team members later, when you will see exactly how the project will run. Okay. Roberto, can I hear about your project?
Okay, so yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. So the name is my 30th home moving. Time frame, April the 1st, April the 30th.
Okay.
Already done. The objective was to carry out the process in the most efficient way. The purpose, a new opportunity arise. Own house was available after a renting period, so I decided to move and to occupy. Team members, myself, my family and friends, and external services. Stakeholders involved, the former home owner.
Okay, good.
The occupants of the new home. I had to arrange with them different tasks. And of course, the whole family and friends
good.
contest. The budget was around 1,000 euros.
Okay, great, thanks. Does anyone else want to share their project? Maybe Matea? Vesna?
So, hoćeš ti? Vesna will do it.
Okay, Vesna.
So we got approved project that is called Creative Festival.
Okay.
Is financed by U.S. Embassy. It will last for 1 year. It is planned to have 4 workshops that are connected with creative industries. Our job is to engage creatives and present them with a multidisciplinary approach to connect them with other stakeholders, with other SME startups, etc. We will then we have planned to start in September of this year and finish it in July next year.
Okay.
We will create workshops. We already did. We will search for experts, connect the Croatian and American experts, make promotional campaign, disseminate all the results, implement first workshop in September, as I said, and coordinated all.
Okay.
It will be about 4 workshops are thematically divided, are thematically divided. First will be like World in Plate, where we talk about food and technology and new technology in production of food. And second one will be connecting art and technology and multidisciplinary approach to all this. And we will have 2 more workshops, which will be developed through next year. So this is something that we
sounds
created.
like kind of a complex project. So
Yes.
a good plan is definitely important.
Yes, and it will be a hybrid events and hybrid workshops because of the COVID and everything. So this is pretty challenging because we have to have and technology, but we still have on-site publicity and participants. So yes.
Okay, thanks. Is there anyone else that want to share?
I can go next.
Okay.
If you want.
Yeah, sure.
My project is the organization of the annual member meeting of my company. The meeting will be on August 29th.
Okay.
The purpose is to show the stakeholder the economic performance and the progress of the company over the year. And in the team, there is me, Patricia, who is the event manager, and Loretta, who follow the administration and registration of every attendee.
Okay.
I identify 5 activities, which are booking the conference room.
Okay.
And Patricia, who is the event manager, will follow this task. And the deadline is July the 10th. Then send an email to every stakeholder with the details of the event. And also this task is performed by Patricia. Prepare a registration form. And I think that Loretta maybe can do this because she is the administrative call the catering and organize a little buffet. So Patricia is the event manager, so she will follow this task and make a little portfolio with the economical and the general information about the performance of the company. And I will follow these activities. And I will, and also the general organization. The budget is 3,000 euros.
Okay, Sarah, thank you very much. It was great.
You.
I was just missing a time frame. You told us about the date of an event, but the whole project started a little bit before, when you started planning on this event. So the time frame is always an interval. So we have a beginning date.
Okay.
But other than that, it was perfect. Thank you very much for sharing.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay. Is there anyone else that want to share? Okay. Thanks everybody for your participation. I hope you learned something new today and that you will be able to benefit from this workshop in your future projects. At the end, I would like to say that if you or your team ever lose focus while working on a project, just remember what is the purpose of the project. The purpose is the reason we are even making projects in the first place. And as we said before, it is also what links the project team together. According to my experience in creative and culture industries, oftentimes they know exactly what they want to do, but they struggle with the why part. They have many ideas, so they tend to lose on the way as they go. And that is why it's important to keep everything formalized in a form of different templates set in, so that whenever that happens, you can focus back on what you wanted to do in the first place, and you can stick with the general idea. Thank you, everyone. I think that is everything from me now, and we'll see each other a little bit later when Jan will present his workshop. I guess we'll start at 11:15. 11:15. Okay. See you back at 11:15. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Okay, guys, one more workshop today. Now it will be my turn. So yeah, we talked about intellectual property, about project management, and now we'll talk more about financial and business part of business. So the topic I'll be presenting today is pricing strategies. This is the topic that, from my experience, especially people in creative industries often struggle with or don't pay much attention to. I'm sure that most of you are quite familiar with the topic, but still I'll present some tools and methods that I hope you can use when you will be helping people from CCI scaling their businesses. So yeah. Before we tackle pricing strategies, we need to talk about business model, because first, the crucial thing for entrepreneur is to be able to sell products or services, and that he's positioning on the market that well that their services and products can be sold. So working business model is the key. But what is a business model? In general, this is the definition or the plan how do I make money? And this is something that especially young entrepreneurs usually don't pay enough attention to. So we need to help them a bit in this part. Why is it important to know your business model? Well, entrepreneur must be able to define all building blocks, I would say, behind his business, so that when they come together or when the product is launched, the entrepreneur can be sure that it will make profit. But the most important thing is that the business model fits the customer's problems. That's the only way that it will make money. So in order to do that, entrepreneur must be very familiar with its customers, with their needs, and need to find out whether they're willing to pay for the product or the service they are offering. If the customer is not willing to pay for some service or even some specific step in the sales process, then it's better to quit on doing it, because it will not create value, neither for entrepreneur, it will only deter the buyer. Last month, I have been working with a startup. They are making VR platforms for different retailers. And at the beginning, they have been offering so many gadgets, like, I don't know, interactivity, ability to chat with bots, video production, ability to integrate a sales system. But in reality, when they did the research, they found out that the customers really just wanted to stand out. So they wanted a 3D design and interactive product display, simply just to be better than the competition who's having simple websites. So now when they're offering a reduced version of their services that is cheaper and much easier to implement, they are much more successful by doing it. Like I said, business model must be adapted to the needs of the customers and be better than those of the competition, at least at some specifics. When we talk with startups about competition, the most common mistake is that many think there is non-competition for their product or service. And of course, this is a big alarm, because every product or service has some kind of competition. It may not be direct, it can be indirect. It may overlap only in a few steps of service, but competition always exists. So why is also important to know your competitors? Because they can become your business partners at some point, or even your strategic partner for exit if you would look to sell your business at some point. And of course, you can copy the things that are already working. So imitating competitors where they are doing good is the right thing to do. You just need to adapt to your specific segments that you are doing. Okay, it's all about money in the end. There are activities that incur costs and others that generate money. So for successful business, it is very important that you know them both to perfection. Especially with creatives that create products, I don't know, handmade products, for example. We often see that they underestimate indirect costs, especially their own working hours. And yeah, if you don't create a surplus, then this is not a work, not a business, but it is a hobby, because in the end, entrepreneur must make a good living out of his activities. Okay, here you can see Lean Canvas. I'm sure that most of you have already seen it. What does it tell us? How's the business model built, where it has drawbacks? How can you define it? It is not the only option to write down a business model. There are many of them, but it is the one that we have been using most, because it's the most suitable for companies entering the market and those operating in rapidly changing environments. Such document, if updated regularly, gives the entrepreneur some guidance on where he's going and how he's moving. So I think it's very important that every entrepreneur have some kind of plan. It could be one pager. It doesn't have to be Lean Canvas, but it's important to have business plan written and to check how's it going. I won't go into details of Lean Canvas. That's not the purpose of today's workshop, but for business to be profitable and solvent, the bottom 4 frames are crucial. Numbers 7 and 9 and 3 and 4. What are they? They are channels that generate revenue streams and key resources, on the other hand, that generate costs. If you know what your resources are, what that means is what you need for your product to be created, then you will be able to correctly estimate costs based on that. And on the other hand, if you know which are your sales channels, how do you sell your products or services, this is the way how will you know if you will earn money sufficient or not. So these are the key parameters that you need to check before setting the prices. Another important aspect is cash flow. Again, a thing that many entrepreneurs don't pay enough attention to. It tells us when will the money come to the bank account and if we will have enough assets to be operational. So costs are, on the other hand, something that needs to be generated in order to create products. But entrepreneur must take care that costs are always lower than cash flow, I don't know, on a monthly basis, for example. Because there are always some fixed costs like production costs and labor that occur every week, every month, and they need to be covered with the money that comes from sales. Otherwise, the company could have liquidity problems. Okay, now that we know which 4 frames are crucial for company to be solvent and profitable, we can now decide which pricing model to follow. Basically, we have 2 models. Value focus model is oriented more to the value for consumer and places greater emphasis on value creation. The other option is focused more on costs. For CCIs, this value focus model is usually the more appropriate one, but it depends on the case. The dilemma between these 2 models is, shall we go for mass production so that costs per unit would be smaller and therefore we create added value like that, or we could say we will sell less, but we will adapt our product or our service to specific segments and be able to charge more because we will create a greater added value for a consumer. So logic for value focused model is how many products we should sell per month to earn for salary and be able to pay all the other costs. Or then we can go further, how much should one product cost in order for that to be possible, and if that price is even reasonable for markets, will people even buy it? Like I said, cost focused model is oriented more to cost optimization, more useful for production firms. The decision about which model to choose can be done only after you've done your research, you're very familiar with your product and who are you selling to, because it has implications for further calculations for calculating cost price and sell price. Okay, so when you're familiar with your business idea, know which consumers to reach, and you decided whether you'll focus on the value or decreasing costs, then you start figuring how much will you charge for your product or your service. And figuring out pricing can be overwhelming for some, but proper research can simplify the process. So when talking about prices and pricing, it is important to distinguish between these three terms here: product price, cost price, and selling price. Product price is related only to the creation of the product or service. So you could say these are direct costs for labor and material that you need for products to be produced. Cost price also includes indirect costs like marketing, shipping costs, rent. These are costs that doesn't end up in the final product, but are still necessary for its production. So you need them. And the final term is selling price. This is the final price that is determined by the market, and usually includes also VAT, value added tax. Why I emphasize this? Because many companies in CCI are not taxpayers at the beginning, at least not in Slovenia. But when they start selling through retailers or distributors, the price must be reduced for approximately 20%, depends on the country. And it's important that you take VAT into account before company becomes tax eligible. And price must be set at high that sales generate profits. Exceptions can be only short term, when, I don't know, you're building a brand or market visibility. But in the long term, prices must generate profits. So profit is also important for long-term sustainability. This depends on how much of a margin you have. What is a margin? Margin is the difference between the difference that remains when we cover all costs. And if you generate surplus, it can be then invested later in, I don't know, research, marketing, new workforce. If there is not enough resources for that, if you're not generating any margin, then the company will probably stagnate. So yeah, it's very important that before entering the market or start producing, that necessary informations are gathered, so the calculations about expected cost price and selling price are made. Pricing is not something that you do at the beginning. It is constantly changing, like business model. So when costs change, price should also change. And factors influencing the price that needs to be taken into account are, first and most important, know your customers, because customer is willing to pay within a certain range that is influenced by many things like, I don't know, demand, competition, perceived value. But problem is, if you're selling an artwork for, I don't know, 500 euros to a customer that rarely buy anything for more than 100 euros, then you probably misidentified target customer. So You need to pivot, change the target customer, or adapt your business model. Example could be that theater artist that has been struggling with selling his 3-act play because the cost of production is out of the budget for smaller theaters in his area. The solution could be that he creates 3 short plays out of 1 3-act play, so that he meets the payment plan schedule of theaters that he's looking for. The second factor is understand competition. We talked about this before. You need to know your costs, fixed and variable. And the most important, you need to set your income goals. Here is no right or wrong answers, but before setting prices, you need to ask yourself what you want to earn from your, I don't know, artistic business. You need to take into consideration living expenses, business expenses, and also build some margin for rest and possible day offs. So it's okay if you aim for an income target that just pays for supplies. Not wanting to make this your main income is totally valid. You just need to make sure that income goals are sufficient enough to break even. What that means, break even, that the volume of sales equals exactly your costs. So you're covering all the costs. And like I said before, cost price must always be lower than the selling price. Another important aspect is that the selling price is in the end determined by the market, and the cost price is created by provider with decisions. How will he produce some product? The price is also at first determined by the entrepreneur, but the price at the market is at the end, the market determined it based on demand and other factors. And like I said before, selling price also includes tax, value-added tax that needs to be deducted to get the basis for calculation. Okay, pricing models. Two types. Prices can be static, that means predetermined in advance, or dynamic, so they are constantly changing. We use dynamic prices for more complex services, like, I don't know, when the product or service is customer tailored, or the price is depending on the quantity, discounts, or other things. But the benefit of having a static price is that it's consistent for customer and also for entrepreneur, because it's easier to forecast profit if you have static prices. Dynamic prices can also, you have a hybrid model. I don't know, you have some fixed part and then you add some add-ons, packages. We see that in insurance where, I don't know, first customer choose the fixed part and then A plus B plus C, and the other would choose A plus D plus E. So different price for every customer. Okay, when calculating cost price, two important questions occur. How much is the initial cost of being able to launch a product or service? Basically, what are all the resources needed to create a product? And the other is how much will distribution to the market cost us? So how will we sell the product or service, and how will we use marketing tools to be successful? So these two categories generate all the costs, and now let's look at them a bit closer. Know your costs, that's the main thing. Never forget to include in calculations your work hours, even if at the beginning you don't pay yourself full salary, because cost price will increase drastically if you forget for such important costs at calculations. Then we also have fixed costs that are always there, not dependent on sales. They are, I don't know, utilities, insurance, telecommunication costs. And then we have variable costs that occur when, for example, customer clicks buy, that are, I don't know, postage, packaging, marketing to some extent. So both fixed and variable costs are important that you are very familiar with. They can be also divided in material and intangible costs. Material determined by work process, and intangibles are determined by knowledge. So first thing is the most important. First thing is to calculate fixed costs, because they exist every month, and it's important to know them for liquidity reasons. Like I said, no matter how much you sold, these costs needs to be paid, so just that the company could exist. Renting an office or warehouse is the most common one. Then are the utilities, insurance, customer care is also a fixed cost, because if you have customer care for your products, for your customers, it doesn't matter how much you sell, you still have customer care 24/7. Then you have hardware, software like licenses, stuff like that. Supporting jobs like accountants, EPRS systems, and salaries, of course. Even if you're sole proprietor for now, salaries needs to be included, because in some day you'll probably want to employ somebody. So we will look at two cases, one for a product and one for a service, and how to calculate the cost price. I choose some ceramic artist who's making rustic bowls for an example. And first we need to define which resources he needs to produce pottery and what costs will occur in the process. So it's important to decide about the time component. Monthly, annual, doesn't matter, you just need to be consistent about it. So what ceramic artist needs for producing bowls? He needs knowledge to make them, but this is not a cost. What are costs are workspace. If he's renting one, I put that on 700 euros per month. Then equipment, I don't know what the ceramic artist needs, ovens, wheels, and for all of them he paid 6,000 euros. That's one-time costs, but we will take for calculation into account amortization of this cost. So in 5 years, 60 months, that's 100 euros per month. Then he needs a fabrication material. Let's say that he is buying that in bulk. So for 300 bowls of material, which includes probably clay and other elements, that's cost 1,200 euros, and that's enough for producing 300 bowls. Then he needs workforce, because someone must do these bowls, and there are other costs also included. This is one simplified case, but just that I can show you how to calculate the cost price of a product. And after we put all these initial assumptions on, then we can begin our calculation. Very important aspect is to determine how much time do you need to create one ceramic bowl in this case. I assumed here that it's half an hour. So in one working day, the employee can make 14 bowls, because we take 7 working hours, not 8. For 1 hour, he will have, I don't know, lunch breaks, or simply won't be productive. Then we calculate from this the optimal monthly capacity. That is 280 bowls if we assume that there are 20 working days in the month. There are more days in the month, but still you can have some days off for vacations or sick leave. So this optimal capacity tells us how much can be produced if all conditions would be perfect or as planned. And with this capacity and the money we would get by selling them, we need to earn enough to cover all costs, direct, indirect, and yeah, have some margin, some profit, preferably. Important aspect here is also that when calculating work hours needed for one product, don't use the time you need for producing the prototype or your first few products, because you will definitely need more time for first. Take this into account as one-time event. Let's say that's research or know-how, but for further calculation, use the amount of time you would need when making, I don't know, 100 ceramic bowl in this case. Okay, so let's calculate it. Monthly rent 700 euros, amortization 100 euro per month. Okay, here's the important thing. Fabrication material, we said that he bought it for material for 300 bowls. We calculated that only 280 can be produced in a month, so we reduced it a bit, and material for 20 bowls will remain available for the next month. Then we have one employee and other costs. So the total of all these costs is 4,920 euros, and this is the total monthly cost for our ceramic artist that they can be that he needs to make all these 280 bowls. We haven't included all the costs naturally because, like I said, this is a simplified model. The costs that are most likely missing are marketing costs, so how he will sell this product. So now when we have a total costs, we need to divide this calculated monthly costs with optimal capacity of ceramic bowl production, and we get that one ceramic bowl, the cost price of one ceramic bowl is 17.57 euros. So this is the basis for further calculations to set retail price and to compare ourselves with competitions. If he would be selling for this amount, and if you include tax, I don't know, if he would be selling these pots for 20 euros, he won't be making any profit, but he would still be able to survive probably, but not for a very long time. Important dilemma here for people working in creative businesses is also figuring out what constitutes of a unit, like here one ceramic bowl, because is that a painting for someone or a poem or I don't know, piece of music, or it may be more appropriate to set it as an hour of time. Here's not right or wrong answer. It depends on the business, but yeah, you need to be aware that sometimes a product is a unit that needs to be taken into account. Sometimes it is an hour of time. And now we'll see that in a service example, that the calculation is the same, but the difference is only in cost that occur, and that the product is not a unit, but it's an hour of time. So I take here a musical lessons, so a musical teacher who's teaching instruments. That's our imaginary example. Again, defining all the costs. Here we have a different equipment. It's an instrument. It's more expensive, but the amortization per month is the same because I set here that the instrument will last longer than 5 years. So yeah, who says how long the amortization can be? Usually the accountant will tell you that. I don't know, for example, for computers, phones, and other hardware, it's usually 2 years. But for specifics like instrument, in this case, you can set amortization as you please. You are not allowed to put the whole cost into 1 year, but you can prolong it as long as you want. Again, you need a workforce, special licenses. This is more often seen with services, that you need some special license to be able to do your business, and other costs that are a bit lower here than in our previous case. So our unit is one lesson that lasts 1 hour. We assume that in one working day, our music teacher can do 6 hours of lessons. Again, others when he's not working or having breaks between one and another lesson. So in 1 month, that would be 120 teaching lessons, and this is the optimal capacity. With this capacity, he must cover all the costs, direct, indirect, and generate also some profit. So the same as before, all the costs, workspace amortization, we get the total costs of 3,350 euros. It's a bit lower than before because we don't have any material costs here, but we also have a lower optimal capacity per month, 120 lessons per month. So the cost price for one lesson is 27.92 euros. So again, if this musical artist is charging only 30 euros per hour, he's not making much profit and doesn't have many reserves for costs that weren't included in calculations. So when you know your cost price, the last phase is to determine how much of a markup can be added for some product or service regarding the calculated cost price. At this point, it's very important that you check your competitors, and that's why it's most crucial that you know your competitors, that you check the location where you will be selling, and I'm not meaning only your town, but the whole market where you will be selling your products, and see market price of others and what they're offering for that price. Don't just copy the prices of the competition, be aware of differences between different providers. If you're better, if you're offering more added value with your services, you should put higher prices. In general, I would suggest that you set higher prices, preferably than lower, because you can always lower your price. But if you go on the market with low prices and the customers get used to it, it's much more difficult to raise prices afterwards if you don't include something totally new, much improvement in your services. So yeah, start higher, preferably, and then go lower if it's not working. So yeah, another possible strategy for setting a selling price is to set a profit you'd like to have from each product or service. So if the cost price of a music lesson is 27 euros and you would like to have, I don't know, 15 euros of markup, then your selling price must be 42 euros or 50 if you include tax. And then when you calculate it in this way, you compare it with others to see if this is a reasonable price or not. Sales price is also an excellent orientation for entrepreneurs to check the prices of competing products, to test the responsiveness of the market, basically to see if the price that you have calculated is acceptable for the market and where are its limits. This is especially useful when you try to launch a new product. But if you see that your selling price is much higher than the one from the competitors and you are not significantly better than them, then maybe you need to go back to the drawing board and change something in your business model. An additional advantage of calculation is that it also reveals where the hidden reserves are. Like I said before, the cost price is determined by producer. The selling price is by market. So you can see where are the reserves, where can you, with a few reductions, most reduce the cost price and therefore increase profits with the same selling price. Okay, so I won't be giving you a task. I know that you probably knew most of the things I said, but like I said before, based on my experience, people in creative industries have many difficulties setting prices. So I hope you could use the knowledge I presented today when you'll be working with people from working in CCI. Conclusions I would like to point out here are that you first need to have a product or service that creates a value. If it's not creating a value, then you won't be able to sell it no matter how good your pricing model is, and that you need to be very familiar with variables behind channels and resources that generate income and, on the other hand, costs. You need to know that every business has fixed and variable costs, and that fixed costs needs to be paid no matter how much you sell. That you are aware that when doing calculations, you use monthly or annually level with all the costs and incomes. And finally, that you really define your costs carefully and correctly. Even if some of them are not cash outflows at the moment, like work hours, most of the time at the beginning, you need to include them to get the cost price that would give you useful information. And yeah, the last thing, you need to set your optimal monthly capacity. That could change for time, but still you need to be aware how much can you produce or how many services can you make in a month. Only then you'll be able to calculate cost price, and by knowing and comparing to your competitors, set a markup and a selling price. We have made two examples, one for service, one for product, very simplified cases. So yeah, this model needs to be adapted with specific costs that definitely occur in real life. So I'd like to end with the quote that proper pricing strategy is really important. It can greatly impact sales performance and also the long-term sustainability of a company. So encourage and help companies and entrepreneurs that you work with, that they would pay attention to pricing, do the proper research. And I hope that today's workshop would help you at least a bit with that. Thank you. Okay, now if you have any questions, I'm open to discussion. No? Ah, okay. It was enough for today. Full 3 hours. So yeah, two more days to come. Tomorrow it will be Nogestiona's turn to present their workshop, and on Wednesday the Enter Koprivnica will end our 5-day training program. I hope you received some useful knowledge today, and see you soon.
Thank you very much.
Can I just ask to take a picture?
Yeah, of course.
If you can stop sharing the screen,
Yeah,
please.
sorry.
Thank you. Okay. Ready?
Scale.
Okay. One more. Just 1 second. Okay. One more.
Nice, Thomas.
Okay. Perfect.
See you guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.